Hello and welcome. You're watching Express News, a show in which we take you through the top 100 news stories of the day. I'm Vande Bharat. Let's get started. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces lockdown 4.0 during his address to the nation, gives a clarion call for self-reliant India, lays down 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces an economic package worth 20 lakh crore rupees, says the package aims at making India self-reliant, also says it will strengthen industry at all levels, right from cottage industries to MSMEs. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu tweets saying, welcome 20 lakh crore rupees stimulus package announced by the Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi ji to revive economy, boost efficiency of various sectors through reforms and make in India and making India self-reliant and resilient. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu tweets saying bold reforms are the need of the hour to realize the dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I am certain this timely economic package will go a long way in overcoming challenges posed by unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to address press conference on economic package of 20 lakh crore rupees, FM to outline the details of the economic package. Railways restarts passenger train services on 15 select routes. Tickets are available only on the IRCTC website or mobile app. Only confirmed ticket holders allowed to access railway platforms. All passengers asked to wear face covers or masks at the entry and during travel. Only asymptomatic passengers permitted to travel. Migrant workers from different parts of the country reach their respective destinations through Shramik Express trains. A total of 542 Shramik special trains have been operated by the railways since the 1st of May, taking over 6 lakh workers to their homes. One of the 2 flights from UAE to Delhi under Vande Bharat Mission to repatriate Indians has been postponed by a day due to operational reasons. This postponed flight will now go tomorrow. Thousands of Indians have been flown back to India in the flights operated by Air India and Air India Express under the Vande Bharat Mission. According to sources, the second phase of Vande Bharat Mission will be launched from the 16th to the 22nd of May. Second phase of Vande Bharat Mission will bring back Indians from 31 countries. 149 flights, including feeder flights, will be operated. The Ministry of Civil Aviation has issued a clarification over the reported Standard Operating Procedure or SOP for restarting of aviation post-lockdown and said it is yet to be finalized. Earlier, the Ministry of Civil Aviation had issued a draft of the Standard Operating Procedure to all aviation stakeholders, including airlines and airport operators, before the resumption of domestic commercial flight operations. The Ministry has asked airlines and airport operators to respond on the draft SOP. INS Magar from Maldives, as part of Operation Samudra Setu under the Vande Bharat Mission, entered Kochi on Tuesday along with 202 Indian nationals, which includes 23 women and 3 children. The repatriation was conducted in accordance with Standard Operating Procedure prepared by the central government and factoring all possible contingencies. All precautions for infection control on ships in conjunction with isolation and quarantine protocols for crew were ensured. The ship was received at the Samudrika Cruise Terminal by the state, who had streamlined the elaborate process of all mandatory health and immigration procedures and made extensive arrangements for speedy disembarkation, health screening, immigration and transportation for the evacuated Indian nationals. With the completion of the first phase of Vande Bharat Mission, Indian Navy has successfully brought back a total of 900 Indian nationals from Maldives. INS Jalashwa would be proceeding to Maldives for this next phase of repatriation of approximately 700 Indian nationals, commencing from the 15th of May. The 5th flight with stranded Indian nationals from Bangladesh has left for Srinagar from Dhaka. The flight has mostly medical students studying in Bangladesh. The 4th evacuation flight from Bangladesh reached Srinagar. The flight had 169 medical students on board. Earlier, flights have evacuated Indians from Bangladesh to Delhi and Mumbai. A few other flights are also scheduled over the next few days. Maldives becomes the first stop for Indian Navy ship INS Kesari as it reached Malé port to deliver 580 tons of food aid to the neighbouring country as part of Mission Sagar initiative. The food aid includes 200 tons of rice, 140 tons of wheat flour and 80 tons of sugar. INS Kesari is on a trip to 5 nations in South Indian Ocean, including Seychelles and Mauritius, for delivering essential food items, medical supply and assistance in wake of COVID crisis. Over 8,503 Indians have been flown back to India in 43 inbound flights operated by Air India and Air India Express under Vande Bharat Mission in 6 days beginning from the 7th of May 2020. Total number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the country have risen to 74,281, which includes 47,480 active cases. 24,385 cases have recovered from illness and discharged, while 2,415 have succumbed. Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Delhi have contributed to more than 50% of the total number of confirmed cases in the country. The new development bank of the BRICS countries fully disbursed $1 billion emergency assistance loan to India to help it contain the spread of COVID-19 and reduce human, social and economic losses caused by coronavirus pandemic. The Emergency Assistance Program loan to India was approved by the NDB Board of Directors on the 30th of April and is aimed at supporting the Indian government to contain the spread of COVID-19 and reduce human, social and economic losses caused by coronavirus pandemic. The program's scope of financing includes healthcare sector emergency response and strengthening social safety net for expenditures already incurred since the 1st of January 2020. In West Bengal's Siliguri, workers are returning to work after restrictions were eased and tea plucking work has resumed in full swing. The move comes as government allowed 50% workforce in tea plantations amid lockdown due to the COVID-19. The tea industry has welcomed the decision taken by the state government allowing 50% workforce in tea plantations. A mathematics teacher from Leh is inspiring the country's fight against COVID-19. He's under treatment at a hospital and daily at least a video and a live online class in the afternoon are his routine along with prayers in the holy month of Ramzan. In UP's Kanpur, a community kitchen at Anandpuri area is providing food to hundreds of workers going to their hometown as the nationwide lockdown still prevails in the country. Bihar's Mango Man has named a new hybrid variety of mango as lockdown as a tribute to Corona warriors. A recipient of over 100 awards for his contribution in the development of mango since 1992, Chaudhary has developed Madhuban Farm mango orchard in Bihar, where he grows many varieties of mango plants developed through grafting technology. Maharashtra government has demanded 20 companies of Central Police Force in Maharashtra from the centre. A train carrying around 1,100 passengers left from Patna for Delhi. Several of stranded passengers boarded the train after sanitization following social distancing amid tight security. COVID-19 cases continue to increase globally with more than 42 lakh confirmed cases and over 2.91 lakh people have died, while more than 14.8 lakh people have recovered. The world's worst hit US with over 13.67 lakh infections and over 82,000 deaths seem to be coping speedily, with many states opening up in recent days, but the experts say that the virus is not fully under control. US President Donald Trump says the US is making tremendous strides in ramping up testing and the number of virus infections is coming down very rapidly. In the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States, New York City, people are mostly indoors for the past 2 months. A city mayor has said that restrictions on social life and non-essential businesses will likely remain in place until next month, as Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that 3 regions in New York State could start reopening their economies this weekend. Cuomo also called on Congress to craft a federal stimulus package that funds police officers, teachers and other employees of states in spite of giving it to executives and big companies. Virus gains a foothold in the White House over the weekend. One of the infected is Vice President Mike Pence's press secretary, Katie Miller. Pence is keeping his distance from President Donald Trump for a few days. A personal military valet to the president was earlier tested positive. Russia has confirmed 232,000 cases of coronavirus, the second highest toll in the world after the US. In the last 24 hours, the country has reported 10,899 infections, the 10th consecutive day that the number has been above 10,000. A glimmer of hope, however, is that despite the high number of confirmed cases, country's death toll is only 2,160. Following President Vladimir Putin easing the country's lockdown, authorities in Moscow extended self-isolation measures in the capital until the end of May, but have allowed industry and construction work to resume this week. President Putin had given regions freedom to set restrictions depending on local circumstances. High-profile cases include Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, who was diagnosed 2 weeks ago, and President Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov, who recently caught the illness. In Britain, a total of 32,769 people who tested positive for the new coronavirus has died in the UK, recording a rise of 627 in a 24-hour period. The lockdown restrictions being eased, a cabinet minister announced that the nation's shops could begin a phased reopening at the beginning of June. France's death toll from coronavirus has risen by 348 to 26,994 on Tuesday, overtaking Spain to become the country with the world's fourth highest number of fatalities after the US, Britain and Italy. The French government is also keeping popular Paris parks closed despite calls from Mayor Anne Hidalgo to open them to give Parisians more space. French schools started to reopen their doors to pupils after a strict 8-week lockdown and the easing of rules, with the French authorities issuing a 54 pages sanitary protocol for cities and schools to comply with before reopening. In other parts of France, mayors have decided to postpone the reopening of their schools later in the following weeks, and others will keep them closed until further notice. Deaths from the COVID-19 pandemic in Italy climbed by 172 on Tuesday, with the daily tally of new cases doubling to 1,402. However, the rise in new cases was partly due to late reporting by the hard-hit Lombardy region, with the official death toll now standing at 30,911, the third highest in the world after those of the US and Britain. As schools in Italy plan to stay closed for the rest of the academic year, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte hoped that they might open in September in the best possible way. At Rome's Basilica of Santa Maria, chairs were placed 1 meter apart ahead of masses being allowed to resume from the 18th of May after Italy's government and Roman Catholic bishops signed an agreement ending a standoff. One of the world's worst-hit countries, Spain, has largely brought the outbreak under control within its borders and has begun to relax its tight lockdown regime. Places of worship reopened for over half of Spain's population. Worshippers attended a mass in civil on Tuesday wearing masks, and pews were disinfected by cleaning staff. The 86 crew members of the Greg Mortimer cruise ship stranded in Uruguayan waters since the 27th of March were evacuated to Montevideo, Uruguay on Tuesday following an outbreak of the new coronavirus on board. Most of the total 128 passengers originally on board had tested positive on the cruise ship, preventing plans for the ship to travel to the Spanish port of La Palma. Passengers will be divided into two groups based on those who tested positive and provided accommodation. The passengers, mainly from the United States, Britain, Sweden, France, Holland, Canada, Switzerland, Australia and New Zealand, were evacuated in two groups on the 10th and the 15th of April. The ship's crew had stayed on board to complete a quarantine period. In Nepal, there is a sudden spike in coronavirus cases. 83 new cases have been reported yesterday, taking the total number to 217. This is the highest number of COVID-19 cases reported in a single day so far. In the last 1 week, the number of COVID-19 cases has sharply increased in Nepal, and on last Tuesday, the total number of positive cases was just 82, while within a week, the tally has soared to 217. 16 people, including 2 babies and 12 mothers and nurses, killed when several gunmen attacked a maternity hospital in Kabul, while in the eastern province of Nangarhar, a bombing at a funeral killed at least 26 people. No group has claimed responsibility for the hospital attack, while the Islamic State group said it was behind the attack on a police commander's funeral. Washington condemned the hospital attack, saying any attack on innocents is unforgivable, but to attack infants and women in labor is an act of sheer evil. India strongly condemns the barbaric terrorist attacks against innocent civilians, including women and children, at the Dashte Barchi Hospital maternity ward and funeral in Nangarhar province. The World Health Organization has said that some treatments appear to be limiting the severity or length of the COVID-19 disease, and that it was focusing on learning more about 4 or 5 of the most promising ones. Over 100 potential COVID-19 vaccines are being developed, including several in clinical trials. The WHO said in April a vaccine would take at least 12 months. As countries begin to exit from lockdowns amidst coronavirus scare, the WHO has expressed concerns about a second wave of infections. WHO's Director General said that lifting restrictions was complex and difficult, and that the slow, steady lifting of lockdowns was easy. Bayern Munich players were wearing face masks and 7-day quarantine on Tuesday as they arrived for a training session at club grounds under a 7-day quarantine ahead of the Bundesliga season restart on Saturday. The German Football League decided last week to resume the first and the second division from the 16th of May after a 2-month suspension, making it the first major sports league to attempt a restart. In Somalia, Muhammad Adawi set to building a prototype ventilator when he heard of a man dying from COVID-19 because he did not have access to a ventilator. Somalia has one of the highest coronavirus death tolls in the region at more than 50 and over 1,000 cases. The country's healthcare system is ill-equipped to deal with the epidemic. There are only 19 ventilators available for a population of around 15 million. Somalia's health minister says the situation is urgent and has praised Adawi for stepping up at the critical moment for the nation. New Zealand's foreign minister on Tuesday said that the country has to stand up for itself after China warned its backing of Taiwan's participation in the World Health Organization could damage bilateral ties. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has pushed back at China over Taiwan. Senior ministers in New Zealand said Taiwan should be allowed to join the WHO as an observer given its success in controlling the global health crisis of COVID-19. Regional lockdowns to prevent the spread of coronavirus have cost some Indonesians their jobs, and to help those people tide things over, the government is providing free rice handouts using dispensers or special ATMs. Indonesia in March announced a $24.9 billion stimulus package in response to the COVID-19 outbreak by providing social welfare for up to 10 million households, food assistance, electricity tariff discounts, and reduction in corporate tax rate. Hairdressers reopened across Singapore on Tuesday as the country tentatively eased some restrictions under a nationwide self-styled circuit breaker, a sort of lockdown aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus due to last until the 1st of June. Laundry services and shops selling pet supplies were also among the other establishments that are allowed to resume business, but other restrictions remain in place. Dining in restaurants, for instance, is still banned and schools are closed. A group of young refugees and asylum seekers flew from Greece to the UK earlier in the day to reunite with their family. The migrants, 16 unaccompanied children and 34 adults, left from Athens airport on a special commercial flight to Heathrow in London. It included minors from Syria. Thousands of visitors streamed into Shanghai Disneyland on Monday for the first time in 3 months, but the Shanghai experience will not be as it was. Instead of parades and fireworks, there are mandatory masks, temperature screenings, and social distancing for visitors and employees alike. South Korea's education ministry says it will postpone the reopening of high schools by 1 week. They would reopen on the 13th of May, this after 86 people tested positive for COVID-19. Cafes, bars and some shops in central Madrid remained closed because Spain's capital did not meet the criteria stipulated by the health ministry. Madrid and Barcelona are the cities worst hit by coronavirus. In Sri Lanka, businesses, public transportation and government departments gradually reopened in the capital Colombo. For government departments in Colombo, only a third of the original workforce will be allowed to return to work. Private businesses have been asked to scale down their number of employees. Curfews will remain in place in some districts. Austria will assist its restaurant industry with a €500 million aid package. Prime Minister Sebastian Kurz made the announcement before restaurants reopen at the end of the week. Kurz told reporters the measures for the country's quote-unquote soul were aimed at increasing consumption while also granting restaurant owners a value-added tax deduction on non-alcoholic beverages. Hong Kong's airport is deploying cleaning robots. It is testing out a disinfection booth for staff as the city lifts social distancing restrictions and authorities prepare for an expected jump in traffic in June. The 14-day mandatory quarantine for people coming from the mainland and Taiwan is set to expire in June. Hong Kong has had zero local infection in more than 2 weeks, prompting restrictions to be relaxed. Game centers, gyms and cinemas were allowed to reopen. Singapore unveiled a four-legged canine-like robot to remind park-goers to maintain social distancing. The robot named Spot could be seen patrolling a park as a part of a 2-week trial run. It is being deployed to reduce the manpower required for park patrols and minimize contact among staff. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised additional funding for mental health care services and coronavirus research. Trudeau said he understands the stress caused by the shutdown of businesses across the country and orders to stay inside. Gymnasts all around the world are making the best of things as they try to keep fit while gyms are closed due to the coronavirus. And 28-year-old Italian gymnast Marco Laudadio has turned his garden into a fitness studio. A team of Indonesian engineers claim to have produced in 2 months a compact ventilator to sell at a fraction of the usual cost, hoping to accelerate the fight against East Asia's second deadliest COVID-19 outbreak. President Ramnath Kovind pays homage to Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, former President of India, on his birth anniversary at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He paid his respects before the portrait of Shri Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. Finance Minister. Well, that's it for now in this edition of the Express News. News and updates will continue on DD India. Stay tuned.